Today we are going to be doing another drawing that is focused on a 7th grade project that we do, but again, I'd like you to do these in all grades just because of our circumstances. This is word art. So word art is basically a picture that's made out of words. Go on Google and type in word art drawing or word art sketches and you'll get a whole bunch of it could be a person who gave a famous speech, and the words of the speech will be in the picture of whoever that person was. It could be one of the examples I show in class is there's a picture of like Harry Potter, and it's the words from like one of the chapters out of the Harry Potter book that makes up the picture of Harry Potter. It could be also something very, very simple. One of the examples that we show is like a swan, and it's made out of, S-W-A-N. So we're going to do something in the middle. You want to go on to Google, or if you can do it out of your head, that's great. And you're going to try to find a silhouette of an animal. It doesn't have to be a realistic animal. We have a lot of people that like to do unicorns and dragons and things like that. For me, I'm going to do an elephant because that's what popped up when I typed in animal silhouette. So, one thing that you want to do, and this is important to make your project look nice, is don't pick a static image. What that means is an image where your animal or your silhouette, whatever it is that you choose to do, is just standing there. You want to try to pick something that is a little more dynamic. So that means it has some movement. It looks like it's in mid-flight, or maybe it's running or leaping, or even if you had like a jaguar laying on a branch and its arm was hanging down, or something like that, it would still be better than just like a side profile of a deer or a pig or a horse or something like that. You don't want to just pick something that's standing there. Okay? Another big hint is to draw big. The bigger you draw, the easier this project is because the more room you have to fill your drawing with words. You also want to draw very, very lightly because we are going to be erasing everything that we are going to draw right now. I'm going to start with, I'm looking at my computer, it's right over here, and I'm going to attempt to draw an elephant that is not just standing there. Alright, so let's do that first here. My silhouette of an elephant that is, let me move my Chromebook here, that is doing more than just standing there. Looks like I did push a little bit too hard, and part of that is because, again, I'm not sure how much of this shows up on the camera screen when I'm doing this, so you want to try to do yours really, really lightly. If you happen to push hard like I do, one thing that you could do is take another piece of paper, if you have an extra piece of paper, and you could set it on top, hold this up to a window, and you could very, very lightly trace what you've already done. It's okay to trace when it's your own work. It's not okay to trace something off of your computer screen. So copying is okay because copying still requires your brain to look at it's observational art. You're observing something and then you're trying to draw it yourself. Tracing is not the same thing. The next step is to work with bubble letters. So if you don't know how to do bubble letters, we're going to show you using another piece of paper here a way to kind of shortcut bubble letters. You can use uppercase, you can use lowercase, you can use cursive if you really wanted to get fancy. Block letters work the best for this particular project. Let's do a bubble letter Z. Now you could just go like that. Z, I, O, B, R, O. If you're not great with bubble letters, you can write out whatever it is that you are trying to spell, and then just trace around the outside. If you go around that letter and then you erase the inside of it, that gets you a bubble letter. You could do the same thing for the I. Just go around the I. Same with the O. You go around the O, and the O you actually don't need to erase the inside because that becomes part of your inner O. But if you wanted to, make it bigger or smaller, that's up to you. Working on the B. And we just continue. You just go, all you're doing is going around whatever the letter is that you originally had written. I throw my pencil in every single video. It's a good thing I'm not a drummer who twirls his drumsticks. I'd chuck it across the stage. Okay, so there you go. There's same thing. Back to our elephant. We are going to be filling this with the word elephant. You can start anywhere. It usually works best to start at one of the legs or maybe the trunk or the tail on one end and kind of just work your way across. You also want to try to not make every single word exactly the same size. Okay, so what you're doing is you're using part of the elephant outline that we've already done, or whatever silhouette you've made, and you are turning it into so for example, there would be an E. If I go like that. Okay? Make sure that you are spelling your word the right way. Then you're going to skip a small space. And here is an L. Skipping a little space. This might be another E. L, skipping a space. Let's see, maybe my H is going to be, don't be afraid to make your letters so they fit. So for example, here's what I'm going to show you. Let's see, hopefully you can see that. Elephant, but the PH, notice this H is short so that it's in line with the P here. You don't want to skip too big of a space. You want to kind of keep all your spaces the same distance. So that is totally okay to do something like that. Let's do an A. Actually, I'm going to choose to make my A, in this case, maybe lowercase, like this. And here is a lowercase n. And then I'm going to put a T on here that's going to sit sort of on top of so that this part of my T is on top of the N right here. Elephant. Now, the first one should be the easiest because you're able to use whatever space you want. Now, the tricky part is you have to fit another word into this silhouette with this. And what we're going to end up doing is erasing those spaces that we've done. So I don't have enough on here yet to erase, so I will show you that in just a second. So let's do another one. I'm going to start with, let's see, I'm going to do an E that starts underneath my T here. So now you'll notice I'm going from top to bottom. You might end up running out of room, and then you can just move over to the side a little bit. But Ella, let's see, P. Let's put a H. Again, I'm doing one of those weird H's. And then I need to do a A-N-T. So I think I'm going to put A-N-T. I'm going to try to fit it all down here. So maybe here's a capital A. Let's see. I don't really like my N to be pointy, but I think it has to be so it doesn't look like my other H here. And let's put a T. Okay, and we're just gonna continue this. So I'm gonna stop talking for a little bit, and we'll do a fast forward here, and you'll be able to see me try to figure this out. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle. So sometimes you have to make one of them maybe a little bit fatter, one of them a little bit smaller. One might have to be an uppercase, one might have to be a lowercase, and you're just trying to figure out how all these pieces fit together to make the silhouette of what you've come up with. If you have something like a tail here, you don't need to, you could write it teeny tiny, but that gets really hard. So what you can do is just incorporate this as part of something. Like this could be part of my E here or something like that. Okay, so don't worry about filling in this area. I'm just going to write elephant, and this will just be part of one of my letters, and it'll just stick off a little bit. Alright, so enough talking, I'm going to get to it. Completed elephant. You'll notice that in some of the video, well, maybe you won't because I'm going to fast forward it, but in some parts of the video I did have to change words or letters that I had already completed. So as you move on, you might find that like, oh, this T doesn't really fit, it would be too big of a space here, so I needed to erase part of the P here and part of the H to fit the T in there. That's okay though. You are allowed to change things that you've already done. That's why you want to draw lightly. But you end up with this giant drawing of an elephant made out of the word elephants. And now what you're going to do is, if you have a halfway decent eraser, you want to try to go and erase all of these spaces that are not part of a word. You're probably going to have to end up going back over a lot of what you've already done. One thing that you could do is trace over everything you've done with a Sharpie or some kind of a marker or a pen, and then you could just erase everything that wasn't done with Sharpie, and you wouldn't end up erasing, because otherwise when I'm erasing in between each of these, I'm going to end up erasing part of the words that I already made, and I'll have to go and redraw them again. I'm going to go over mine with a Sharpie. If you're running out of paper, put something underneath so that you can use a Sharpie without it bleeding through. Alright, I'll be back in a sec here. What you're going to want to do is take your eraser, and now you don't have to be as careful, so you can kind of just go over everything. The other nice thing about going over it with Sharpie, besides it just looks nicer, is that you don't need to have I guess I call it a sharp eraser, and what I mean by that is you can use the corner to fit in between the letters, which is what you'd have to do if you didn't go over it with Sharpie. If you just have a giant pink eraser at home or whatever, you can just go over the whole thing. So, it takes a little bit of extra time. In the end, I feel like it comes out better. I'm going to show you guys shading in a different video. We'll get into it a lot more. But for right now, what you're going to want to do is pick a light source. There's going to be a light source here, and it's going to be darker on this side. And that's just because that way I can start with my E on the side here. I'm not going to do the entire thing because, again, I would just end up fast forwarding it, and you guys would listen to more music while I do that. But I will do it for a couple of these. So what you're going to do is each individual letter is going to be shaded as if there was a light on this side. So maybe we'll, there's my light, and it's shining this way, and a shadow on this side. Let's, here, we'll put that there just so that you know that's the side that it's coming from. For this kind of a thing, it's better to not use the tip of your pencil, but actually use the side of your, see if I can get that over on the white, the side of your pencil lead. So you're going to just very gently shade using the side of your pencil. Ideally in class we talk about trying to get 5 levels of shading. So you have a light medium, a medium dark, and a dark. If you haven't shaded before, I'd just like you to try to get 3, light, medium, and dark. Here's my dark. Now I'm working on my medium, so I'm pushing just a little bit lighter. And your light could technically be the color of your paper. So if you can even just get a dark, a medium, and then a white, that would be okay too. But you're just trying to add layers of your shading. Very similar to that. Then I'm going to move on to the next one. If it's a smaller letter, you're going to need to have a little bit more of a point so you can control it a little bit better. But again, you're using the side of your pencil. Alright, and there it is, elephant. And you would do that to all of them. This is the end of this project. So next project, I think what I'm going to try to do is maybe, you know what? Pay attention, Mr. Z. Next time I think I'm going to try to do something that's not drawing. I know a lot of you maybe don't have materials at home to do anything besides drawing, but I'm thinking maybe a 3D or a clay project or something like that. So there's a lot of recipes online that you can look up to make like Play-Doh at home using flour and salt and other things like that. So you can look up those. I brought home some clay from school, so I will be probably using clay, but we're going to try to do something maybe 3D instead of 2D art. Okay, so until then, I will see you guys next time. Please stay healthy, watch the spreading of those germs and things like that, and enjoy.